Welcome to another episode of Core Reviews. I'm Legacy.
And I'm Max.
Bobby.
Sam J.
Your boy Big Joshy.
The return.
The return.
Haven't seen him for a bit, but he's back in action. Welcome to another episode as we are back to our monthly reviews. And this month, instead of doing an old movie, we did a recent movie that just came out, was the new Flash movie. Also based off the comic of the Flashpoint from the DCEU, one of the last movies as a transition into the DCU. So gentlemen, let's go ahead and start off with it. I'm going to go ahead and state something because let's just address the elephant in the room for those people who are watching. Yes, we know what Ezra Miller did. We are not supporting it, but we would just still watch the movie. I've stated it. I do not support anything he did. He needs to get some help and whatever repercussions happen to him, but still watch the movie because there's a lot of other characters. Boom, I've addressed it. Now back onto the movie.
So I want to start off with a negative, and we got to get this elephant out the room because the CGI in this movie was among the worst I've seen consistently from beginning to end in the movie in a long time. And Ezra Miller, a lot of Ezra Miller in the Flash suit is CGI, and it looks awful.
All right, bouncing off of that, Max, I'll say you're right. The CGI could have definitely been better, but I think that I read somewhere that they did it intentionally for the parts where he was like breaking the timeline.
Well, that I understood. I'm talking other parts.
I'm actually fine with that, but like a lot of Ezra Miller, especially like close-up face shots, especially near the end of the movie when he's talking to the other Flash, his face was CGI. I'm like, why is the star of the movie CGI?
I see your point, and I can't justify the VX.
But this is not just like a Flash issue. It's like a modern superhero issue. So many bad CGIs in these movies now.
I don't understand it. They have millions of dollars.
I think it's because they know they can just at least up until recently, these movies were making money, so they were gonna make money no matter what. But now a lot of these movies have not been performing as well, so maybe they might want to reevaluate their formula.
So what happens with a lot of these movies and how CGI works? A lot
They don't give them enough time.
Well, they don't. Yeah, they don't actually do their own CGI, which I thought you just hire people. They hire companies, and basically these companies bid on it. And basically, whichever company's going to do it the cheapest is obviously the one that the movie's going to go with. This has been a very big issue in Marvel. It's come bigger issue, and it's come an issue in DC as well that they're doing. And a lot of companies that do the CGI, have unrealistic timelines. Especially, I know Marvel, a lot of CGI companies have complained about it in Marvel of their unrealistic timelines, and really, they kind of screw them over in the money because it's going to be whoever's going to do it the cheapest is who they're going to go with.
Yeah, this is really sad.
I don't know if the writers, what are they doing? Strike? The writer's strike has anything to do with the VFX, but
no. I think another issue potentially that could have made the effects worse was that they had a lot of reshoots for this movie. So maybe a lot of stuff they filmed like with the main cameras and all that, they didn't do it for the reshoots. And of course, Miller was doing his issues, so maybe that prevented him from going to get the reshoots done, so they had to CGI him in, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, let's not forget, this movie was scheduled to come out 5 years ago, back in 2018. So due to all the pushbacks, the issues with Ezra, and everything else going on surrounding COVID, I think they should have at least put a little more effort and dollar bills into the special effects, because not like comparing it to Quantumania where it's like all green screen, but they could have at least portrayed certain aspects better, and if they had took the time, then I think that would have fixed the majority of your issues.
Yeah, now there were some scenes where I was okay with it, like near the beginning with the baby scene. I was like, that's perfectly fine to be all CGI because that was so cartoony. And that was
one of my favorites,
Yeah. The comedy in this movie, I think, was pretty well done throughout.
Same. I was laughing.
Yeah, and
most of the jokes
four or five babies falling out of the sky, and each one is an immediate danger.
That was pretty fun. The one he put in the microwave was actually fun.
That was hilarious. Yeah. Oh my god. Hilarious.
Yeah. I thought it was more hilarious that instead of seeing all the babies in danger, instead of going to save the babies first, he goes straight to the vending machine and
Yeah.
refuels.
You got to do what you got to do to help save the world, you know?
Well, it definitely landed the humor, right?
Yeah, I think most of the jokes worked. There were a few jokes that didn't work. They tried a little too hard, but I think mostly throughout it got consistent laughs from our group at least. And then everyone from the theater, from the two people in front of us that were laughing excessively loud at every joke.
Every joke.
Did anything stand out? Like, let's talk about some of the good from the movie.
It actually felt like a comic book movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that since we jumped straight into, Dawn of Justice and then Justice League and then Zack Snyder's cut, we never actually got original like origin story for the Flash. But in this movie, he actually had to give himself powers and then actually show him how to use them. And that was kind of our origin story for that too. They went back to the events of Man of Steel and actually showed what Barry was doing at that time. And even though he didn't really make a difference, you could still see that he tried, he cared. So I thought that was a good aspect of the film since we didn't get an origin movie for the Flash. And this, of course, coming out years later after the fact for the Zack Snyder's universe. I thought it was a good way to tie it all in regarding the events of the previous films.
That's a good point there, yeah. They did do a good job with that. I did like a lot of things this movie, a lot of the ideas in this movie. I know they copied this from the story, but like Flash losing his powers and having to get them back, I've always thought that was interesting. And I even liked near the end where it's revealed that, the entity in the Speed Force is himself, just going back in time over and over again, trying to fix things. I'm fascinated to think about how long has he been doing it.
Am I the only one
How
that
many-
didn't like
how many
the
times did you say?
design of the Dark Flash?
I didn't like the design, but I liked the
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of this. The design was
I like the concept that he had created his villain, like
yeah.
Max was saying, like he was the cause of it. And you could really blame it on the ideology that he was kind of instilling on his younger self. Like after he realized that it was his mom that his older self was coming back to the past to save, and like you don't appreciate it. So like he kind of took that and ran with it, that I have to do all I can to save this universe. And honestly, I don't really understand the ending of the film. Like after he went back and changed the
He didn't learn at all.
he
Maybe
didn't
the
learn
cans
his
up
lesson
top.
for sure.
No.
But does that universe did he destroy that entire universe because
Well,
He
I think that universe was. I think that universe was already doomed.
Yeah, it was
Like,
pretty much
one,
because
he was going to win no matter what.
Yeah, because he said that universe is doomed. This Earth is doomed. So it's kind of with the web of there's so many universes. There's so many multiverses that it just was like that one dies. But he then made again because he switched that thing. He still made a new one. He made a different one. And even actually, they did this in. I watched the TV series as well. That even they talked about this idea of like even when in most flashpoints when he goes back to stop himself, he still changed the timeline anyways, and he still switched things because no matter what he altered history, no matter what he did, he's always going to alter it in a sense. Even if he goes back, you can't fully change it back.
That's one thing I did like about the movie is that he failed. He could not save that world. Nothing he would have done would have saved it. Which I feel like is a bold choice because a lot of superhero movies, they probably would not have let that happen.
They would have found like
They probably found some way.
They were wrong. There was a way to fix everything.
Yeah.
Nice.
There would have some way for him to fix it, but I'm glad they didn't do that route. I was a little worried about that.
I love superhero like speedsters, and to see like how they portrayed him on screen, as far as the lightning that he produces, and then having it separate. Then I think it came down to the flash suit that Batfleck built for him, like how it actually dissipates the energy that it collects. But for it to be different between the two Barrys, because his was built off of a bat suit, not an actual, however nanofiber, however it works. I thought it was cool to see that aspect played out.
Yeah. What did you think about the other Barry?
The younger Barry?
Yeah.
Well, for him not to go through any trauma, you could definitely see the different personality that he had altogether. You know, from his first introduction.
Immaturity.
Yeah, exactly. Him skipping through the street or tripping over trash cans or something like that. You could just see. It wasn't all there. He hasn't had to experience the amount of trauma that the older Barry had to go through in life. But I will say I liked that joke with Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman. Him saying that he was a virgin. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
I like the one where Hunter said this is his joke, or he liked this joke too when he's wearing the suit and he's like, where I can feel it?
Yeah,
Right around the pretty funny.
The growing hair.
I was expecting him to actually say it.
Yeah. One thing you talked about the speed, sir, and I know some people have complained about this, but this is actually something that would make sense. Some people complain about Barry's running form, and people who run are like, that's not proper running form. But it's like, no, Barry's not an athlete. That's the point. That's why he runs weird. He's a very weird guy that got super speed. His form would be horrible because he's just some nerd.
Maybe if you run that fast, you do have to change your form.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm like, he's not some Olympic runner that knows how to run.
Yeah, and they actually made a joke out of it in the film. Him swim running in a circle, that's what he really looks like. It's not good. It's not good at all.
It's just he's going so fast you can't see him. I did like the phasing thing they were doing. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's one of the first techniques he learns in the Flash show. I thought it was a really, really good aspect in the film too. And then when him trying to teach his younger self, he just falls through the floor out of his clothes. Yeah. It's really a learning experience, but
he's gonna have to move, man.
How they actually zoomed in on the camera shot, they zoomed into the actual molecules that he's phasing through. Yeah, that was insane.
That was really good.
It's
and I felt that was a good way to explain to the audience instead of having someone say it and science talk what was happening, to just explain it to us. I'm like, okay, I get it. I don't need to know the names of anything happening. I get it.
Yeah,
but I'm understanding this process. Got it.
So, they did some things well in this movie. It's just if they, and we'll do our ratings later, but if they had the proper backing and proper filming schedule, I think this could have been a lot better.
I had to invest 10, 15 million more into CGI. Now, I will say I did like the cameo of Bruce Wayne at the end. I did laugh at that.
I knew it was going to be a change. You could just feel it building up to it because of how he changed.
Also when he was on the phone, you could hear that. I was like, that's not Ben Affleck's voice.
Ben Affleck's voice.
But I was disappointed that it wasn't Christopher Bell or Christian Bale.
It was Christian Bale. You would have heard me shrieking. I'm like,
one thing I did think was interesting is how they talked about time. They changed it completely, because generally in movies you see from that point on is how future histories change. But they explain how you change everything, because I was wondering when they do that scene of, Arthur Curry's not exist. And I'm like, well, Arthur Curry was born before The Flash. And I was also wondering from the trailers, okay, how are you going to do Keaton? Because are you going to do, according to the comics, his dad, Thomas Wayne, becoming Batman? Or how are you going to do that? And what happened to Batman, he was before he was born. So I thought it was kind of cool how much they changed, because they were like, you change everything instead of just then on.
Yeah. Eric Stokes as Marty McFly.
Yeah,
I thought that was a funny little bit there, Bobby.
nice.
The reference to the Back to the Future.
Yeah, when she was like, Eric Stoltz, I'm like,
Bouncing off of what Phil was saying, though, my problem is that I get used to another set of rules regarding time travel. And then you bring this new film out where I have to relearn, how their basis of time travel works. It's like it took me, not to compare to Marvel film, but it took me at least 5 times to watch Endgame to actually realize how the Hulk was explaining time travel for their universe. Like, if you go back to the past, that past bit can't become your future. So it's just that aspect of having to relearn a new way of time traveling. And the way he explained it with the uncooked spaghetti noodles and like how it was all a assortment of mess, like it I feel like it could have been better because that was my biggest problem with the film, not understanding how the Chrono Bowl had worked and then how he would, see the evil or Flash, whatever. I didn't get that aspect. It took me watching like a few explanation videos to realize like the breakdown on it. But I feel like I grasped it now, but I wish it could have been better in the film.
I think they did that. Maybe the dumping the spaghetti is like, you know what, this is all we got. Okay, so make it what you will.
Yeah, time travel.
Yeah. I did like Bobby. I mentioned the George Clooney callback a little bit ago. What was y'all's favorite callback? I think mine was the laughing bag because that's something that a lot of people in the audience may not have gotten what that was about, especially ones that didn't see the Michael Keaton movies.
I probably like seeing Christopher Reeves again. Even
yeah, mine was probably the Gal Gadot cameo. I thought that was really good.
Yeah, that was funny.
George Clooney, I think, was the funniest one. Was the one that got me the most.
Did you catch all the Michael Keaton callbacks to his movies? He like almost every line he spoke was a reference to one of his other films.
Yeah. My favorite one from the Michael Keaton was when he had asked how much do you weigh?
Oh yeah.
Before putting him on the elevator to judge the charge. That was hilarious. If you don't know, folks, that's what he did periodically in his films. He would get the weight. And then, because if you can't support the grappling hook, I got to carry myself plus another. So I thought that was a fun little technical nod to his original films.
I loved it. I felt like they didn't use Keaton as well as they could have.
I agree. And Jacob, you made a good point yesterday with what you said about Michael Keaton. So why don't you go ahead and share that?
I was saying, like, it just feels like, obviously, they just grabbed Michael Keaton to get, like, people to watch the movie. It just didn't feel like it was Michael Keaton's universe. It just, because that universe is dark and stuff, but he was fighting in, obviously daytime bright areas. It just didn't feel like the Tim Burton universe.
Technically, it's not Tim Burton's universe, though.
But no,
well, shouldn't it have some aspects of his universe with this one? Shouldn't they be mixed together?
Yes.
It has to
possibly,
be his universe. It has to be
because like they said, because remember at the end where they said, there's so many universes that the Tim Burton was one of them, but they could have had another one where Michael Keaton looks like that Tim Burton one. They kind of talk about how people look different.
Yeah,
and everybody changes spending.
But then they wouldn't have done so many callbacks
because
to make it clear that it was because it did the Joker bag. So if it was a different Michael Keaton, he might not necessarily have all those keepsakes. I'm assuming since every callback was directly tied to Tim Burton's, I'm assuming it's that universe.
One thing I wish they would have done though with the other universes they go to is change maybe how it was filmed, give it a different aesthetic. I just like when movies do that because then it makes it feel like you're in a different universe instead of essentially the same thing, just a little bit different here and there.
Yeah,
I would say Across the Spider-Verse nailed that. What you're saying, Max?
I see some of the clips from that. Yeah,
they
do it. Yeah, and technically, sorry to get back on this Tim Burton. Technically, he would have changed the Tim Burton universe too. By doing what he did, it wouldn't be the same Tim Burton universe we're used to. It would have changed it as well.
I think there's not talking more from a story perspective, just saying for us moviegoers, it would just look better for us if you kind of filmed it just a little bit that way.
With a certain aesthetic, taking his Batman and just plopping it in the open battlefield, taking on a Kryptonian that's 60 or 70 years old. It just doesn't seem like that's Tim Burton's Batman. It feels like they should have just done Thomas Wayne. They could have had Michael Keaton play Thomas Wayne, and people still would have seen it.
I would have liked the Jeffrey Dean Morgan Thomas Wayne.
Yeah, I prefer it to be accurate to the comics, and I wish they had done Thomas Wayne. And because then you would have seen the Martha Wayne Joker as well, and that would have been really interesting.
Yeah, maybe they didn't want to copy the cartoon one too much, but or even the comic too much.
Well, they usually divulge from the comics to the live action because they don't want to do the exact same thing. Most of them usually do.
I just feel like Spider-Man did it better of getting the aesthetic of like Tobey Maguire. Spider-Man translating that to the Spider-Man film better than the Flash did of Michael Keaton.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I also don't like I liked the portrayal of Supergirl. I don't like that she was essentially there just to die over and over again.
She had one purpose, and that was to get Flash's power back, and that was all she had in the whole movie.
Yeah, and Hunter had a good point yesterday. Regardless of if they had went and saved Supergirl, it didn't have anything to do with the plot. Basically, something like that.
I mean, she could have not been in the movie at all.
I mean, honestly, it's the same with like Zod. You didn't have to. It could have been any other villain killing her.
I mean,
he served like no purpose either.
I mean, I get the Zod thing because it was to kind of connect it to the universe.
It connects it. It connects it. Yeah, no, I get why you do Zod.
Because especially because Man of Steel was the start of this universe, especially with that.
See, it's like if you're gonna pull in aspects of Flashpoint, then do it, but tie it together with what has already happened. Like they tried. I feel like they were doing too much in this movie. And in doing that, they didn't do enough to tie it all together. But for them to bring in, like I was saying, the Man of Steel shots and the great Michael Shannon, they could have made it more consequential, I could say.
I feel like they definitely. I know since they had to bring Michael Shannon back for like the reshoot, they wasted him. He didn't even need to be there. They could have done like archive footage, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
They essentially did with that girl that was with them because she was CGI everything she was in.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Arahura, something like that. Her name. She was real good in the Man of Steel movie. That is.
Which is underrated movie, by the way.
Oh yeah, for sure.
No. I like that they did the Zod one because it shows that this is one of those moments that Michael Keaton mentioned where this moment and always happens, and then it just the timelines just diverge from that.
Yeah,
point.
I did like that concept of pretty much having pivotal moments that cannot be changed in every universe. This happens, so I did like that idea. So this movie had a lot of things I did like the idea of. What
I kind of felt during that moment was the a fixed point in time from the What If series, Marvel, where you can't change that point or else it'll basically destroy the universe itself. It'll collapse on itself. So I thought that was a cool little nod. That's what I had felt during that point. I felt a reference to the What If, it being a fixed point in time.
But that is an interesting idea, though, because if that is true, then like you said, pretty much fate has to be real. That's just an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah, predestination.
And then you think, who was the one predetermining that?
Right, I guess Barry, because he always time travels. Like it's always going to be him time traveling that starts it.
Hey guys, I don't think we haven't talked about the gut-wrenching decision that the Flash has to make, knowing that what he's going to do is going to result in his mom dying no matter what.
Bro,
that's gotta hurt.
The lady next to me was quite moist during the scene in the grocery store.
I mean, you gotta think about this. You can save your mom, but what happens afterwards? You gotta let your mom die. That has to be.
How bad does it suck for pretty much Barry and Bruce Wayne to say, "Yeah, your pivotal moment is your parent dies."
Yeah, no, you gotta let them to get killed.
True. Well, I mean, I thought they did a good job with that scene because it would be really hard for if you have lost a parent for you to go back in time and actually see them, and then but you have to let them die again. That would be really difficult.
So when he's crying, he's not gonna stand those tears, man. That'd be the hardest decision you gotta make.
I will say that conversation in the store is absolutely ridiculous. That would never have happened in real life. Would someone have had that conversation?
That's back in the 80s. Though. That's back in the 80s.
That conversation
just how nice the mom is. Just how nice the
I
mom
know.
Yeah, I know. But
she did. She would have given him some "you're crazy" look,
Yeah.
You don't have that conversation every day, guys. Just
That was
why does this person talk to me about cereal? This is weird.
You don't willingly talk to strangers at stores?
Sometimes I do.
Cereal.
God, this is like the 80s, man. That was a different time.
You'll get those people that ask you a question, say, "Oh yeah, I like that. Oh cool. That's blah blah blah, boom." And yeah, it was the 80s. It's a different time. People used to follow people home.
Yeah,
get a date. Well, yes, it wasn't considered as creepy back then. It was a little more acceptable. They still do that these days, but it was a lot more acceptable back then. One of you guys did make a good point about how Barry was different, and it was something that Bruce said of if Bruce's parents don't die, he never becomes Batman. And it's interesting just because because his mom never died, technically this one would have never became the Flash because he wasn't even at this point if Barry didn't put him there. So it's like, oh, he wouldn't have been at all the Flash.
Yeah, he would have been on a date. He would have been not a virgin.
So you get to be not a virgin or Flash. Which one do you want to pick, Philip?
Flash, baby.
I know.
So say super speed. We're not going to get into this.
Yeah.
If people watch this show, I'm going to be careful.
Family friendly.
So, how was some of the nostalgia for seeing the Batcar? Because I remember when he pulls out the Batcar, people are like, "Oh my god!" You know, people were pretty excited.
I just wish we had just one scene in Tim Burton's Gotham before they switched the aesthetic. You know, just give us one scene.
Especially like the music and whatnot, really cool.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they did a little bit, but like, they just give me one scene of like Batman talking on the rooftop with the Tim Burton aesthetic, and then that would be fine. And then say he's got to do shit in Metropolis. You know?
See, my take with the nostalgic was it was cool seeing it back, modern day film, but at the same time they released it in the trailer. It would have been nice to see first time.
Oh, dude, could you imagine if you watched this movie and saw Michael Keaton?
Dude,
right?
Yeah, if they had not given us Michael Keaton, I would have flipped.
But would we have seen the movie? I know some of us would say yes, but would most of us see the movie without knowing Michael Keaton was in it? I know I wasn't going to see it until I knew he was in it.
I feel like they had shown Ben Affleck Batman. That may have been enough.
Yeah, I always see these movies, so I would have seen it regardless.
There was really no point in Ben Affleck Batman to be there either because he was in like.
They had that one scene of him chasing the Falcone son or whatever just to justify him being in costume one more time.
I was kind of surprised that neither Batman like interacted with each other, kind of like the Spider-Man.
See, that's what I thought was going to happen. Was somehow there's going to be some intersection. Ben
That
Affleck was
would
going
have
to
been
see
dope.
Michael Keaton. That's what I was hoping.
That would be cool. Mm-hmm.
I was kind of disappointed that they never did meet.
Because like I was like, since they're not doing exactly like the comic book, that'd be nice.
See, for me, I liked how they had, Batman in the daytime, and then they made a joke out of it too. Like, shouldn't he be asleep, being Batman? And then they gave us the iconic, not so iconic, but, nostalgic gray and blue bat suit for Batfleck.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was cool to see on screen.
Yeah,
and it was a cool chase. Yeah, it was a cool chase scene. The Bat Pod, chasing the Falcones and whatnot. And I thought it was a good point that he only started shooting back once they started shooting him, and he was making a conscious effort to, try and steer the bystanders away. I think he had released spike strips in that first chase or something. So I thought that was like, cool aspects, getting to see.
Change from the blatant murderer Batman and Batman vs Superman.
Yeah, that part. But I thought it was cool to see him in the bat suit for what's going to be the last time. I will say that his warning to Barry was interesting because that Batman had already seen him time travel in the Vision where he had ran back to the past, so he knows it's possible and he knows that he does it. So he was just trying to be forewarning without telling him, watch your P's and Q's, but because it's time travel, it's dangerous. But
I was also hoping there was just quick. I was also hoping they would do something to reference that point where Flash gives that message to Ben Affleck's Batman. I was hoping we would see that intersection or whatever. But
they just like that either like didn't happen or they just like forgot it happened.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's kind of no point since you're resetting the whole universe, so that really wouldn't have
connected everything.
Like, I think if we were still going down the Snyderverse, they probably would have brought it up, but with the fact that's not leading to anything. But I don't know. I think there was a point to having Batman because I think the beginning part where they have that conversation about changing the past. Out of all the characters, Batman's the one who could relate to Flash about losing a parent because he lost both of his. And he understands, like, hey, I get it. Like, I lost both my parents, but I can't go back in time and change that because that would change who I am and that would have an effect. if you're gonna have anybody have the conversation, it needs to be Batman. It would just make sense most coming from him.
He's probably the most, relatable person that can, counsel him. And you kind of get that, Tony Stark, Peter Parker vibe, being a mentor on this superhero journey.
I do feel like Barry relates to Batman the most because they both start off as regular people. Superman's always been Superman. Wonder Woman's always been Wonder Woman. Aquaman's always been half Atlantean.
Yeah.
Yeah, like how did Barry describe it? It's like, so we're missing a Kryptonian, a goddess, a nice Terminator or something like that. I thought that was a funny nod, but yeah, exactly. Batman is human, so he's definitely the most relatable to Barry, at least. For them not to talk about or even reference Reverse Flash, it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's refreshing because of how overdone he was in the Flash TV series, but the Reverse Flash is a major antagonist to Barry Allen, and for him not even to be kind of brought up in this film, like I said, it's a double-edged sword. It's refreshing, and it's also I kind of would have wished it would have been nice to at least get a reference to it. Other than the color scheme.
I was hoping the after credit scene would have addressed Reverse Flash, but no, it was one of the most pointless. Scenes.
I would just like if they introduce one of his villains, like Captain Cold, Trickster, or something.
This after credit.
If you're watching this movie,
but
don't sit through the credits for this. Just watch on YouTube.
I just hate it when after credit scenes is a scene that doesn't directly relate to a sequel or anything, because the point of this is to reward the viewer for staying through the credits, and you're showing a scene that ultimately it's just Aquaman getting drunk
mid-credit. That's the next DC movie.
No, I'm with you on that point of the after credit scene was pointless, but I'm just saying if you showed a villain, what's the point of that too? Because we're reshooting the new universe, so we're not even guaranteed that villain's going to be in the next movie.
Is Aquaman 2 that Aquaman, or is it back to the original timeline Aquaman? Which Aquaman is it?
I think they said
this is the George, because the after credit scene is the George Clooney Aquaman.
I think they said it's going to follow this movie, but I don't know. DC. They say one thing, it'll be something else the next.
Yeah. And this movie right now is underperforming box office expectations, but I'm not surprised because DC has already essentially said before these movies even came out that these movies are not going to lead to anything. They're kind of pointless now, so they're pretty much killing the movies.
Well, and then Ezra Miller screwed the pooch.
Yeah,
I think that's
Which is unfortunate because I think in this movie he killed it. He crushed it.
Yeah.
I think
he was really good in that.
Here's the thing I'll give DC. They did a great job casting. They just made bad movies. They just didn't make good choices.
I feel like they had a bunch of good ideas. They just didn't know how to execute them.
They didn't have an overlying person to look. They didn't have a Kevin Feige who was going to look over it and be like, okay, how do we make sure this all connects and makes sense?
I would like to right here, right now, call out James Gunn. He said The Flash was one of the best superhero movies of all time. And he said he wasn't lying. And I'm calling him a liar.
With bumped up CGI, it would have been one of the better DC movies.
I would say it wasn't bad, but I mean, it's
I don't think it.
I would say it's better than.
But it's
I
not
would say
even
it's better than all the
EU movie.
No,
DCEU movie.
It's better than all the damn Marvel movies coming out right now.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say
it's not any better. It wasn't better than Guardians.
Besides Guardians,
I haven't seen Guardians yet.
Besides Guardians, I mean, I thought it was pretty good.
I'm sure it's better than Ant-Man 3.
I enjoyed it better than Ant-Man.
Doctor Strange and all that stuff.
I liked it better than Doctor Strange and Ant-Man.
Yeah, overall, I liked the movie. I mean, I would rewatch it.
Yeah, that I would rewatch. I think it was well done. I'm with you. It sucks all this stuff came out because he really did. Like playing those two different Barrys, he really did an amazing job. All in all, I mean, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a pretty good movie. Very different than what I thought it was going to be. The box office success is not going to be a reflection of what the movie is. Because this is also one of DCEU's higher rated movies from the critics too.
Yep.
Yeah. My opinion of the movie, I think it's pretty good, like you said, but we did not get the best version of this movie. So this movie could have potentially, if done perfectly, could have been maybe like an 8.5 rating around there. It did execute everything well in the movie that it wanted to do.
I think that's the second biggest detriment to the film is that not the CGI, but the fact that there's a better animated movie version of this already out.
Yes, and if you haven't seen it, watch.
Yeah, that's to me that might be a bigger detriment than the CGI. There's already a better movie on the same topic out there.
I watched it yesterday after I got home.
Damn, now I'm gonna have to watch it.
I think it's going to be interesting with what happens next. I believe this guy is actually the director of this. Is supposed to be taking. He's one of the people in talks for directing the new Batman movie. For the DCU, for the Batman Brave and Bold.
His movies, It was good. It Part 2 was good, could have been better, and then this movie's decent. Yeah, we'll see.
My problem was that they kind of treated it like the Morbius, movie. They all the issues, reshoots, pushbacks. It was just too much to be as great as it could have been. So. For me, I like the film, yes, but I kind of feel biased since The Flash was my favorite comic book character as a kid. But for this film, I thought it was solid as one of the final films in the DCEU. So moving forward, I don't know what's to come next for the character. I guess we'll all see. But for this, I did like the film overall.
Yeah, because I don't think they've announced anything. The stuff coming up. His name is not announced. Or
nowhere near.
Has announced. He hasn't announced.
He hasn't even announced Superman. So if we don't even know Superman.
No. He hasn't announced the Flash movie coming up. He set out.
He's going to do the Flash.
He's going to do Flash, but it's just not one of the first things he said when he was giving you the slate. He said, "These are the movies." But he did say there's going to be more to come. But this is what we're starting with.
They don't want to announce the Flash movie right now because one, they would have to answer the question. A is Ezra Miller coming back, so they're just probably going to wait until they make a decision on that before they do announce anything for Flash.
Yeah, though there's one thing I will also comment while I'm thinking about it. Supergirl, because we kind of did talk about it. If they take this direction with Supergirl, especially when they do Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, this kind of Supergirl is supposed to be more, she's kind of supposed to be more like detached from Earth because she didn't grow up here. I really would like to see a version of this as a Supergirl movie. Because she did great.
She was badass.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind her coming back because I think she did great. I think that character would fit of what you want, especially Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow.
I think she does deserve a second chance. She didn't get as much as I thought she would in this movie.
Well, a lot of her stuff was cut because it was like too gruesome, for the rating that they had. It would have ended up being rated R. I will say I like the aspect of her being trapped in a Russian facility, or at least landing there, crash landing.
It paralleled the Flashpoint paradox of Superman being trapped in something like that.
Yeah, but I kind of thought it was more of an aspect on the independent film, the Red Sun Superman, for him to be a Russian Superman. Yeah. So I thought that was cool. They brought both aspects of that, plus the Flashpoint, like being trapped in a facility under the red sunlight, so no powers. And then when she does get our sun's light, it actually they kind of mirrored that scene from Dawn of Justice when Superman got nuked, like him absorbing the sunlight and becoming full strength again. So I thought that was a cool aspect of the Supergirl that they had gave us in the Flash movie. In regards to the rest of the DCEU films, I'd say it was definitely better than Wonder Woman 84. That's probably like at the bottom.
I said the original Wonder Woman. I'm like, sorry, that is not.
It's kind of close to it. It's probably like right below it, actually. Like I put it neck and neck. Wonder Woman and then the Flash.
So like, since the DCU is going out, what we all say is the best movie in that?
The best?
The 4-hour Justice League cut?
Yeah, other than the Snyder cut, I'd have to say, maybe the second Suicide Squad movie.
Second Suicide Squad or Man of Steel.
James Gunn.
Those are really good.
I would be Man of Steel. I really enjoyed that.
I would actually be on Wonder Woman. I actually would be Wonder Woman. I really like the first one.
Oh, my favorite one of the series? Yeah, the 4-hour Justice League. And then I might put the 3-4 hour Batman Superman second.
That's like a 3-hour Batman Superman cut.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the 4-hour Snyder cut. I think most of the other DC movies are dog shit.
Man, I will agree.
Would
That
this
far it's not a
fit in the
cut,
dog
but
shit
Josh Whedon's
category?
shame.
This movie? No, it's not. It's not dog shit. No.
No, that's reserved for like Suicide Squad. The first one, not James Gunn's.
I was just gonna say, in the entire DCU slate, I'd probably put it around midway.
Yeah.
Probably midway.
Yeah.
Which sucks because I was really looking forward to it.
It's still definitely not a bad movie though. This is one you could rewatch again and still have some fun with
Yeah.
it. And if they do have some of that footage you were talking about, Josh, I think that could bump it up if they release the extended cut of that.
The director said he has a 4-hour cut. The director said.
Well, I'll watch it.
Why is it always that the director's cut has to be like we have to wait to see that? You know,
Yeah, it's only DC that does this.
Because most people are not sitting for a 4-hour movie.
No.
They're not. That's a long movie to sit through.
Cowards.
No, with this, it also shows the meddling that happens in DC. That when they have to dice the movie up, and it's maybe not what the director wanted. They put it the way they think is marketable.
I mean, man, if you saw what DC thought would be a good Justice League movie with Josh Whedon's cut,
that's why I'm saying it.
That's an abomination against God.
The Justice League that Josh Whedon did versus Snyder is they massacred Snyder's film.
Yeah, it's true.
Also, that's still just a dig move to scrap his whole movie and do another one.
That was a different regime, so luckily that was much different. Those people are now out. It's now Discovery people, which I mean, I said recently I've liked what Discovery has announced and what they're revamping. Because a big thing the guy said was, I'm not just going to put out a DCU just to put one out. I want to put one out that's actually makes sense and is good. So
it to give us Damian, like, you kind of need that, you know. So whatever. We'll see what happens.
I will say, in retrospect, I'm really glad that Christian Bale probably wasn't in this Flash movie because, like, it would have been very odd because if Batman's so grounded, it just wouldn't have fit.
Yeah, it would have fell out of place, but it would have been nice. All the same.
It would have been cool, but then like it would have been weird.
Now, I would have loved it if Arnold Schwarzenegger came back as like Captain Cold and did like an ice pun at the end.
That'd have been cool. Yeah, that would have been. I've been down for it.
No, fuck it. Let him be Mr. Freeze again. Let him do it.
I'd support him as Mr. Freeze any day. People can hate it all they want. They know that was excellent. Okay.
That was hilarious. Every pun was worth. Wait till we do that rewatch.
For the DCU that's coming up, and they're going to do Flash. But who do you think they're going to do, Barry Allen or Wally West?
Wally West.
If they drop Ezra, I think they might do Wally.
I think they're going to still start Barry Allen, but they might do an established Barry Allen with a Wally West coming.
Yeah, I agree with Phil. I like both. Well, especially Kid Flash, but whatever. Yeah, you got to go Barry. You got to go Barry, and then establish Wally coming in. But we'll see. They haven't announced anything, so we'll see. We need to get John Stewart.
Yes, thank you.
We are.
You going to say that?
We are getting that.
I was just about to say, give me John Stewart.
But our generation's Green Lantern.
Yeah, but he said the Green Lantern TV show is going to have Hal Jordan and John Stewart.
Okay. I'm fine with that. I can live
Which
with
I
that.
think is because he understands there's two different like us who grew up on Justice League.
Dude, I totally forgot
TV
that
series and Justice League Unlimited.
Yeah, if you're a 90s to 2000s
Yeah, that's it.
kid, you're probably going to be a John Stewart kind of guy.
Yeah, we'll see with what they got. So thank you again for watching this movie review. Let us know below what you thought of the movie, if you liked it, and anything that you thought we should have discussed more. Just a reminder, we will be doing one every month. We are doing a movie review. This is the second episode. Next month we're going to be also doing a movie that will be coming out. It is Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer. So that will be our next month's movie review. And then I believe that'll be for July. And then August we are going to go back to rewatching a movie. It is going to be the classic with Al Pacino and Robert De Niro, Heat. So
nice.
Yeah,
Okay,
y'all are in for a treat, boys.
Finally, great. I can cross this off my list.
Yeah, I've been meaning to watch it so long.
Everyone else, like and subscribe. Anything you felt we could have talked about more, just like my man Phil Legacy was saying, go ahead and add it in the comments.
Thank you all for watching. My name's Legacy.
And I'm Max.
I'm Bobby.
I'm Jay.
When the discussions begin. See you guys.